10 years ago, I came across an idea that shifted the way I think about life forever. I didn't know it at the time, but what I learned that day would shape how I work, how I live, and how I define success, and more importantly, how I avoid regret. It started with a book written by Bronnie Ware, a palliative care nurse who spent years supporting people through their final days. Her work was intimate, emotional, and incredibly revealing. She had conversations most of us will never hear, raw, vulnerable moments where people, nearing the end of their lives, opened up about what truly mattered to them. They weren't worried about resumes or bank accounts or how many likes they got on social media. They weren't asking how to get one more promotion or one last hustle in. They were remembering, reflecting, and in many cases, regretting. Bronnie noticed patterns. She listened deeply to what people said when they knew their time was running out. She captured those patterns and distilled them into something both heartbreaking and profoundly moving: the 5 most common regrets of the dying. When I read them, they hit me like a brick wall. They weren't dramatic or complex. They were beautifully simple. Here's what they were. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. I wish I had let myself be happier. That's it. No fancy bullet points, no strategies, no productivity hacks, just honest reflections from people who finally saw life with clear eyes. They realized, often too late, that they had spent much of their lives chasing things that didn't matter and ignoring the things that did. And ever since I read those words, I've kept them close to my heart. See, most of us live as if we'll get unlimited tomorrows. We say, I'll slow down once this project is over, or I'll make time for that later. We put off calling our parents, pushing that moment for a more convenient time. We think we can make up for lost time, but the truth is, we can't. We chase more accomplishments, more approval, more external validation. We attach our self-worth to productivity, to performance, to perfection. We tell ourselves that once we've reached a certain level of success, then we'll rest. Then we'll enjoy life. But what if that day never comes? What if we spend our entire lives sprinting up a ladder only to realize it's leaning against the wrong wall? We forget that life isn't made of giant achievements. It's made of small, quiet moments. The smell of fresh coffee in the morning. The sound of laughter from someone you love. The unexpected text from a friend saying, "Hey, I was just thinking about you." A warm hug at the end of a long day. Watching your kid's face light up when you walk into the room. These moments, they matter more than we give them credit for. But we rush past them in pursuit of something else, something that always seems just out of reach. And the saddest part, most people don't realize this until it's too late. That's why I want to ask you something. If you were told you had a year left to live, would you keep doing what you're doing now? Would you keep running at the same pace? Would you keep saying yes to things that drain you just to avoid disappointing others? Or would you change? Because here's the hard truth. The future is never guaranteed. All we have is right now, this moment. But our brains are wired to live for someday. We're taught to delay gratification, to work hard now so we can enjoy life later. And yes, there's value in discipline and hard work, but there's also value in joy, in presence, in slowing down to ask, is this how I want to live? I've fallen into the trap too. For a long time, I thought success meant hustling nonstop. I thought I had to earn my worth by proving myself, by showing up early, staying late, doing more than was asked. And sure, it got me recognition, but it also left me burned out, disconnected, and wondering, what am I actually doing this for? The turning point for me was when I started creating content, this very channel you're watching. I waited years before uploading my first video because I was so scared of what people would think. I felt like I had to have everything perfect. I was waiting for clarity, for confidence. But that's not how it works. Confidence doesn't come before action, it comes after. The early days were rough. I didn't know how to edit well. I stumbled through scripts. I felt awkward on camera. But with every small step, I got better. I got clearer. And most importantly, I realized that the joy wasn't in achieving something big. It was in the process of becoming someone new. That's something we forget. Growth isn't supposed to feel comfortable. It's supposed to stretch you. The discomfort isn't a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you're expanding. And here's what I've learned after years of doing this work. You don't need to have a 5-year plan. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't even need to feel ready. You just need to take the next step. That's it. Because clarity doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing, from trying, from making mistakes, from learning as you go. And the beauty is that with every small decision, every time you say yes to your values instead of your fears, you cast a vote for the person you want to become. Over time, those votes add up. They become your identity. So ask yourself, who do I want to become? Someone who regrets not trying, or someone who looked fear in the face and went for it anyway? That's the difference between a life of regret and a life of meaning. There's a story I love that illustrates this perfectly. A child once asked their mother, "What was the best moment of your life?" And the mother, without hesitation, smiled and said, "This one, right now." Because that's the only one we ever truly have. Not yesterday, not someday, this moment. So many of us are living for a future version of ourselves. We say, when I lose the weight, when I get the job, when I finally have enough money, then I'll feel good. But happiness doesn't wait at the end of a checklist. It's available now, if we let it in. So what are you waiting for? If you've been thinking about starting something, writing that book, launching that business, going back to school, making that phone call, having that hard conversation, this is your sign. Life is too short to keep putting things off. Because regret doesn't come from failing. It comes from never trying. So be brave enough to live your truth, to follow the voice inside you that whispers, there's more to life than this. Say no when you mean no. Say yes to what lights you up. Tell the people you love that you love them. Make space for joy, for connection, for presence. And remember, the small stuff is the big stuff. You will never regret spending time with the people you love. You will never regret showing up authentically. You will never regret choosing peace over productivity, connection over comparison, courage over comfort. So today, slow down, take a breath, look around. You are alive right now in this moment. That's a miracle. Don't wait for permission to start living. Give yourself that gift. You are allowed to create a life that feels good to you, a life that's aligned with your values, not someone else's expectations. Let's make a promise to ourselves and to each other that we won't wait until the end to realize what really matters. Let's live like we mean it. Let's live so that when the time comes, we won't have to say, "I wish I had." Instead, we'll say, "I'm glad I did." If this message resonated with you, I invite you to watch my other videos where I go even deeper into the life lessons I wish I knew in my 60s. Thanks for being here. See you in the next one.